It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. You can turn on a TV and within minutes find a news show that seems odd. As you watch, you start to feel like you're being misled. And yet, when this is brought up to the reporters themselves, they act like you're making it up, listing lots of facts about how unbiased they are that don't change your mind, even if you can't say why. It's enough to drive you nuts. So what's going on? And how did this happen? Let's take the issues one at a time. First, is the news lying? Well, what do you consider a lie to be? Could you catch them purposefully saying things that are untrue? No. But is each channel leading you in a certain direction? Yes, definitely. Now, we do judge these things from our own opinion, which is already slanted. But leaks have shown the news slanting things on purpose, though it tends to be more hidden. Most reporters and producers don't even realize they're doing it. The only way to actually catch it is with a clock, because while they don't outright lie, their opinions sneak in through emphasis, meaning they give more time to what they like and less to what they don't. But if the reporters don't realize it, where's it come from? Well, it happened naturally. You see, at first, there were very few channels on TV. Informing people was just a necessary function, but there got to be more channels. And whenever that's happened, news sources then have to compete. So of course, the shows started to get focused on things that were more attention-grabbing. And today, facts have also become far easier to find. So the drive to exaggerate and slant stories to make them more effective has been hypercharged. But that's not the whole of it. And here's where it starts getting weird. Because, like we've talked about, when it comes to holding an audience, truth doesn't matter. Only the feeling of truth. So it wasn't just about grabbing attention, but also confirming viewers' beliefs. And those that did a better job of convincing their audience of those confirming stories did better, meaning they provided a slanted perspective while acting like they were credible. And, are you ready for this? The best way to do that is to believe it yourself. So, reporters who refuse to be slanted are not interesting enough, while reporters who slant unconvincingly are not believable enough. So, natural selection literally chose the ones who slant their coverage and don't realize they're doing it. So, the smug and biased news reporters and editors and producers who hire them, who obviously give only one side of a story, but who are totally convinced that they're fair, are the ones left after decades of competition, as the perfect people to tell you what you want to hear and let you feel like it's the plain truth. Now, this is an area where I think people are just starting to scratch the surface, where evolution can cause us to do one thing while believing another. And this same slant shows up outside the news too, like when we share things on social media. We know people like to confirm their point of view, but even knowing that, we'll still do it ourselves. And there's another reason for that. If you think one point of view is correct, you're never going to shortchange it. You won't leave out things that show it to be true. But life has randomness. Everything gets shortchanged sometimes. By never leaving out information that supports one side, we distort things in that side's favor. And thus, we think that we're being fair, but we're actually being unfair, just like the people on TV. These things are probably unavoidable, but if so, where do you find the truth? Well, for starters, you need sources that don't need you to look at their news. I personally use Wikipedia. Their front page has a sidebar for current events, which they only update when something really important happens. And sometimes it doesn't change for days. Pretty different from 24-hour news, isn't it? But that's fine. Because actually, what news channels show you is not actually news. Let me say that again. What you see on cable news 98% of the time is not actually news. You see, news changes what you think or what you do. Like, for example, the weather. It affects what you wear and where you go. That's news. Someone combing their hair in another state is not news. It doesn't change what you do, and you already know that it happens. Likewise, people getting shot is also not news. These are terrible, but we know they happen every day. If it happens to you, it's news. If you can do something to help, it's news. But otherwise, it's only there to stimulate your emotions, because our brains aren't adjusted to a world big enough that deaths don't affect us personally. So it can be used to hijack your attention and then show you a commercial. If you want real news, look out your window, or wait for your phone to ring, or for the doorbell. Those will be things that are relevant to you. And if you notice, usually, there's not much there. Almost everything else is meaningless to you. And this includes politics.
Do you support $700 billion in cuts in Medicare over the next 10 years?
I'm not running for president. Paul Ryan's running. I'm not.
Politics only becomes news when it starts to interfere in the average person's life, which it doesn't do that often. News channels focus on it because it gives them a constant source of conflict. And we usually follow it because it lets us feel informed. But if you really want that, the best thing to do is watch debates, where people who have totally different opinions argue without editing. This is really the only way you'll see ideas challenged and fact-checked, and you can get a sense of which point of view is more solid. But be careful, because you'll still end up hearing from people who are obviously biased, but accusing everyone else of the same thing, which is a major reason why politics and the news drives people crazy. But it's not the only reason. There's something else involved, which is at the heart of just about every disagreement and every irrational decision that people have ever made, and which can be used to make anyone believe anything. And that's going to be our next video. If you liked this one, share it, subscribe, and thanks. And I have one more thing to add. We had the live Q&A yesterday at YouTube Space New York. It was so great to get to chat with you guys who followed the channel for a while and to let you see me in person. We had some great questions and got to talk about personal topics, YouTube's policies, some other YouTube channels, and things I have planned for the future here. As you guys probably guessed, I'm not going to be making that public, but it was really special, and I want to say thanks for your support and keep watching.